Okay, we're live now. There was a 30-second countdown. I don't know if you all saw that on your end, but I thought it was a new thing, and I thought the 30-second countdown was going to immediately make me go live, but apparently it didn't. So live now. So welcome everybody, and yeah, we're going to be talking about the Carnival Vista today. Give our review, and the reason that Greg and Michelle are on here with me is some of you know, a lot of you know, they were on the Vista with me for New Year's Eve, and so two channels viewpoint is better than one. We have not discussed our opinions beforehand to determine whether we're going to say we like this but don't like that. We haven't done any of that, so our opinions are going to be genuine. They may like something more than I did, or vice versa. But yeah, we'll go through. We have a bunch of different topics. And it was a great cruise. It's great to be back in front of you all. I feel like it's been over a month since I've been back in the studio here. So it is nice to get back here. And we got Zoe back in the house. We got some hot dog bites for her. She was yelling at me yesterday because I left her alone for 2 weeks. So speaking of that, if we have anybody new to the channel, we do a little something here where if you send a super chat in, it could be for as little as $1. And once we reach $100 in super chats, I do a drawing for a Coach Crew shirt of your choice. I have the traditional on right here, and then we have the new design that will be featured in a lot of bar crawls. That will be coming out. The inaugural edition of this will be coming out for the cruise on the Jubilee, March 22nd. All the bar crawlers will be wearing those. So you can choose either one of those. And yeah, we had a great bar crawl on the Carnival Vista. So, and if anybody does a $10 super chat, Zoe gets one of her favorite treats here. And she's very happy to get that and gives you a high five and thanks you for that. And then if anybody does a $15 more super chat, you give me a treat along with Zoe, and we'll be drinking a little bourbon and salute to you. So that's what we have going on. But let me say hello to everybody before we get into talking about the Vista. Obviously, first we have Greg and Michelle here from Cruise Life TV. And but we're going to say hi to all of you that have checked in the comments. And if you haven't put anything in the comments yet, please do. We got Liz and Chris from Carnival Cruise Addicts. They get the gold medal today. So it's going to be a great show tonight. And then Caitlin gets the silver medal. Congrats, Caitlin. I'm on the podium. And Freddie Phillips gets the bronze. All right, so great job, everybody. Sandy, the Lost Pirate Jenkins, is back once again. We got Rick, the Texas Cruiser, here. Great to see you. Danny D is doing her spectacular supporting once again. Bumping her up. Mandy is back. And Mandy, one of the things I can tell you, I'll give you an early preview. I wasn't amazed by the piano bar, I guess you could say, this time around. I was looking forward to more last couple cruises and just haven't gotten it. Ken Pascal is back once again. Good to see you, Ken. Chris from Carnival Cruise Addict says, hey, Coach and Greg and Michelle. Will G is back. Good to see you again, as always, Will. Sherry is here. Sent some very nice messages along Christmas and New Year. I appreciate that, Sherry. And I hope you and Jay had an amazing Christmas and New Year's, and great to see you on here as always. I think we, for the most part, caught up. We got Scott from Controversial Cruising. Great to see you as always, Scott. And our first super chat, look at that. We got Scott from Controversial Cruising getting us started. And Scott, that's going to make you numbers 27 through 36. And since Scott has been a frequent supporter and of Cruise Life TV, Carnival Cruise Addicts, they do a weekly show together, playing the match game and stuff. We're going to do a shot just to get this thing started off with that $10 super chat. Normally I do it 15 or above, as I said, but we already got a treat for Zoe here. So this is for Controversial Cruising. So high five. And what do you? She says a big hearty thank you for that one, Scott. And thank you. And here we go.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. All right. Kimberly Lavelle is here.
Hey, Kim.
Good to see you, Kim.
Ken was up there.
We got Ken Lesko here. Good to see Ken. And Craig Bowl. First time I think I've seen you on here. Great to see you. Yoli, who was on the ship with us and had several dinners with Greg, Michelle, and I. Great to see you. And I don't know if you're with Naya or not, but hello, Naya, if you're out there. And Andrew, of course. And look at this. Sherry and Jay, you all are just amazing and awesome and all of the other adjectives I can think of. You are 37 through 86. And I'm glad I didn't put the top back on the bourbon because I've got to give you another big toast here. So Sherry, Jay, thank you so much.
We'll get a sip.
Oh, Bert and I.
And I got to set aside a treat for Zoe. She's still working on that last one. And then, but yeah, thank you so much for that.
No.
Like I say, Sherry gave me some very nice messages over the break, which I really did appreciate. And then look at that. We got Rick following up there. Says, let's hear about Vista. How is she now? And we're going to get into that in just a few moments. So we're all the way up to 91 already. We are only 9 short of giving away our shirt. We did have a few people. And Trisha, she was on the ship as well with Bert. Bert celebrated a birthday. And she says, hi, everyone. Bert and I had a great time. Bert's having Woodford on the rocks. Okay, I'm doing my 4 roses. And, great to have you two back with us again, even not on the ship. All right. And this one is from Sherry and Jay. High five. And what do you say? She says, thank you. And she's happy to get those treats. She's happy to get back at it. All right. So I think we are done with all the comments. So we can, as Rick mentioned, start hearing about the Vista. And Greg and Michelle, what were your initial thoughts of the Vista? Did you have initial thoughts from outside before you boarded or right when you boarded? Or was there anything that struck you like, oh, or just kind of nothing?
Well, so we got to the port and we found that if you park at Port Canaveral for the Carnival Vista, it was extremely confusing.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
So we'll be doing a video on that.
Yeah, so a lot different than going to Terminal F for fun for the.
No, that's in Miami.
Oh, was that in Miami?
That's in Miami. So you're talking about Terminal 3.
No, for the Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Terminal 3. Okay, so it was a little bit different, and so we did get it quite confused pulling in. But for me, getting on the Vista, I mean, I was happy that it was familiar, like that the layout was familiar because we'd been on the Horizon a couple times. And so I found it comforting that it was familiar because I am very directionally challenged. So it was easy for me to make my way around and, we're usually like one on the Lido, like right off the Lido deck. And so that's helpful. But I was actually able to navigate, which I was so happy.
Except the night that coach had to walk you back to the cabin. That was New Year's Eve.
Hey, you know what though? I mean, you're supposed to do a little drinking and get a little silly on the cruises, right? Especially on a New Year's Eve cruise. So can't blame you for that. I was in bad shape on a couple nights as well myself, so I know exactly how that feels. While we started talking there, Carnival Cruise Addicts came through with a $15 super chat, and I'm just going to keep the lid off the bourbon here because the super chats are coming fast, and I love it. And we got over 100, so we'll be able to do the shirt drawing right away. And Carnival Cruise Addicts says they need a new shirt, the new shirt. So cheers to you, Carnival Cruise Addicts. And we got a treat for Zoe. High five for Carnival Cruise Addicts. Liz and Chris, what do you say? She says she's getting good at the thank yous now.
Coach, you got to scroll down a little more.
You know what? I see that. I think Liz and Chris have a plan for tonight.
Either that or they're in separate rooms. Had the same idea.
Parking for Vista and Freedom are a mess, Mandy says. Danny D. Yeah. All right. Well, Chris, we're going to put CCA. I'm going to put Liz by one and Chris by the other one. So let's see, 7 through 21 for the second one. Let me go ahead and do that first shirt drawing. Frankie Floyd was a carryover from like 3 weeks ago. He was number 1. Then we had Admin Tim 2 through 6, Sherry Bell 7 through 26, and Scott 27 through 36. Then Sherry and Jay again 37 through 86 tonight. Rick 87 through 91, and then Carnival Cruise Addicts were 92 through 100, and then that carried over to a new start of 1 through 6 and 7 through 21. So,
hey, Coach, I just noticed something. Actually, Chris gave that on our channel, so thank you, Chris. But
yeah,
we'll
worry
forward it off to you.
Yeah, no worries. Just keep that. Siri, give me a random number 1 through 100.
A random number between 1 and 100 is 57.
57. All right, and 37 through 86 was Sherry. So I'm glad that I have a new shirt that I can send to Sherry because she has all the other ones and I think all the different colors. So Sherry and Jay, you can let me know, the size you want me to send, and we'll get that new shirt out to you. So thank you for that. And Chris, like I said, the Liz and Chris, your numbers 1 through 6 and 7 through 21. You're already lined up for the second leg of that. All right, so let's see. Chris and Liz are amazing, and yes, they are.
Super amazing.
Hey, Greg and Michelle. Yoli says, hello, Carnival Cruise Addicts. And Cheryl's here. Hi, everyone, from Tim and Cheryl. And I saw on Facebook they were doing some snow shoveling today for a friend. That's the awesome friends that they are. And they live in Florida. So that's hard to do, snow shoveling in Florida when there's no. So that means they traveled somewhere to do that. And yeah, all right, cool. So I think we're all caught up there. And yeah, I would say about the Vista, one thing, Vista is the first. And when we talk about classes of ship, they say the Dream class or the Conquest class or the Vista class. And when they do that, that just means that was the first ship in that particular class of ships. There's other ships that followed that might be that same size and same layout, for example. So the Vista is the first, and then the Horizon was second, and then the Panorama was third. Right. And those are the Vista class ships. Now the Venezia is basically a Vista class ship as well. Although it might look a little different layout wise because, it was an Italian themed ship and things like that. So that's what you need to know. So the Vista came back from dry dock about a year ago. And I know that they changed the sports bar to a Heroes Tribute Lounge. I did notice that, and that they did do a very nice tribute on the walls, paying tribute to, all our military forces. So I did notice that. There wasn't anything else that really struck me that I was like, oh, wow, this looks different. The ship looked nice on the inside, as most Carnival ships do. They kept it very clean. The blue hole looked pretty and all that. So, yeah, there wasn't anything that struck me. They still had the beautiful LCD columns, and those were changing. And I think one thing about the LCD columns, I don't know if you all noticed this, but it seemed that they changed them a lot more frequently. On past cruises I've gone, it seemed like I would sit there for a while, and I'm like, why don't they change it to something different? And I didn't notice it changing. But on this particular cruise, even though I didn't hang out there a lot, it seemed like they changed the design or whatever was on the LCD column.
Yeah, I'll have to agree because every time we walked past it, it always seemed to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is nice. Because then you get that right visual display, and you just focused on it, and you're just mesmerized. But yeah, I love those LED displays.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a nice touch.
The funnel or
but
whatever.
One thing I did notice on the Vista, because of the age of the ship, it's not that old of a ship, but I thought it was really clean. I was kind of like surprised.
Well, when did it come back from dry dock? What did you say?
It was basically, I think Mandy that's here watching the show. I think she was one of the first to join after it came back from dry dock. And that was like last year, about New Year's time, roughly, I think is when it came back. And
so a year. I mean, it should still be clean. I mean,
well, yeah, but I don't know when it goes into dry dock. Are they actually, is that what they're doing? They're revamping the entire
I think so.
ship top to bottom, or are they just making?
I don't honestly. I've heard about propulsion issues with the Vista after it's come back from dry dock, so they didn't fix that. Yeah, but we did. Carnival Cruise Addicts even said no propulsion issues, thankfully, right? And I was worried about that, Liz and Chris, but no, I don't think we had any, right? I mean, you didn't notice anything. We didn't get to
no, and I was watching the speed a few times, and I was surprised how fast the ship was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think we were like around 19, 20 knots at some points where.
Yeah, Aaron here just for a few minutes checking in. So thanks for checking in, Aaron. And Aaron was with us on the cruise, and Yoli and Andrew are here with us. So we basically have the dinner group, because half of our group ate late and the other half early. We were in the early part because we didn't want to wait till like 8:30 or whatever they were. But we did all eat as one big group at least one time, I remember, as a group. So that worked out well. So Tricia says, hey to our new friends, Cruise Life TV, Greg and Michelle. Yeah.
Thanks for joining in, Tricia. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were all on the bar crawl together, and that was a lot of fun. Sherry in reference, and I saw their post in reference to the show, or I think Jay posted something like sand is better than snow or something like that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd much rather be somewhere with a sandy beach rather than a snowy.
Yeah, I'd rather have sand in my shoe than snow.
Yep. All right. Cheryl says, I'm way bigger fan of sand and sun. She's in the land of the cold. She knows what we're dealing with here in the Midwest. And yeah, it was after having shorts on for about 9 or 10 days, it was a little rough, getting back into the frigid temperatures of Chicago. Straight off the plane. Let's see here.
What was it there, Coach? What was the degree? How cold was it when you landed?
This morning when I was coming to work, I think it was like 18 degrees.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we're all complaining
Tricia,
58 here.
So yeah, and Greg and Michelle, they know about this too, not quite as much as since Aaron is on here now. I never seen somebody so happy. So there's this guy PJ that was on the cruise, and those that got to meet him just loved him, because PJ has one arm. He had an accident and he lost his arm in the accident, but he totally made light of it and made the best of his situation and doesn't let it bring it down. He would wear a shirt every day that would make fun of himself having only one arm. It might be an awkward situation, if you meet somebody with one arm or something like that, but he totally made it easy. He had a shirt one time that said, second place in the chainsaw juggling competition or something like that. And, just, and then people were giving him ideas like Erin, for example, talked to her friends that like to make up a bunch of jokes. And she's, one of them came up with the idea of sucks at folding towels or something like that, that he have a new t-shirt or something. But, he had a lot of fun with it. And he also had these little hands that he was passing out. And so I know he had given a couple to Aaron, and then he was giving them to other people. And people were just playing with these, grown adults playing with them like they were little kids, and, just doing all kinds of goofy stuff with them and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. And yeah, he was another great person. And Tricia is saying right here, PJ was the best, most upbeat person I've ever met. That's a high compliment. Ever is a pretty strong word. So very cool. Cheryl's saying 17 here as we speak. And I think you're in Ohio, if I remember correctly, Cheryl. And yeah, so that's rough. So, all right. So I'm thinking, I have a whole bunch of categories, and I think Greg and Michelle, they might even have one or two that I missed. But here are the categories that I have. I figure we start with the toughest one first, or the one that everybody wants to know about, at least most people, and that is food. And then we have drinks. We have the cruise director / fun squad. We have deck parties, ports of call, ship condition, playlist productions, live music, the casino, the passengers, or the crew of people that we went with, the energy level on the ship, and the internet. Those are just some of the ones that I wrote down. And if there's anybody that wants to know about anything in particular besides that, or if Greg and Michelle have one or two or a few that I didn't mention, then we can certainly talk about those. But let's start off with the food. And again, Greg and Michelle and I have not talked about this. Zoe keeps trying to crawl on the table to get her little hot dog bites. But your thoughts on the food, just overall. I mean, we went to the steakhouse twice, as a group. But then we went in the main dining room pretty much every other time besides that. And we did eat separately a few times, be it brunch or, for lunch or whatever else. So, just overall, what were your opinions on the food in general? Maybe the MDR, the specialty, whatever you want to go with this. Take us off.
What do you have to say about the food?
Well, I think the food was fine. I mean, I don't think there was anything that was over the top spectacular. Like, I think you've got a little thing to mention there, Coach. But to me, the staff was great. The food was really good.
I think the food was consistent.
Yeah.
For Carnival,
it's right.
Yeah.
And the specialty dining, of course, the steakhouse, it was good. I mean, it was, like you said, consistent with what we've had before, which was really good.
And I must say, for the first time ever, I had, for the sea brunch, steak and eggs. I've never had that before, but the steak was, for breakfast, was out of this world. It was seasoned perfectly. It was medium rare. It was juicy. I had that egg on top of it, and I was like, oh, it can't get any better than this.
Oh, and I will have to say too that, like, usually we always do the morning, the breakfast in the main dining room, and I think it was the Sea Day brunch too. They have a burger, and it was the first time I ever tried the Voyager burger. Okay. And it was actually really good. I mean, I would definitely get that again. I would absolutely get that again. So.
Yeah. I've seen those burgers, and I have had those burgers in the past. And I know I really liked it. Then the Voyager, is that the one with the egg on it also? Or was that the other burger? Okay, because I know they have two burgers. One has an egg on it.
It was a toss-up between the two, but I went with the Voyager this time. Next go around, I'm going to try the other one. So, yeah.
Okay, and then, I mean, that covers the main dining room. So, and you covered brunch. What about the steakhouse? Because we did go to the steakhouse twice. What were your thoughts on the steakhouse? And it is, for those that don't know, a steakhouse is roughly $50 a person, per person. But
so we thought the steakhouse was really good. I had a lobster tail, the big one. Michelle had I think you had the cowboy.
First time, yeah.
You had the cowboy for the first time. So we figured, you know what, I'll give her a little bit of my lobster because it's pretty big. And then I took a little piece of her cowboy. So we kind of like mixed it up a little bit. The steak was really good. The second time, Michelle had the filet mignon,
which is,
and I had the ribeye because I love ribeye. Michelle tried my steak and I tried her steak.
You
can't
go wrong with the filet mignon. And here was the other thing that I did for the first time. Next time I go to the steakhouse, I'm going to get the filet mignon.
She left,
and I'm going to take a baggie with me because I'm going to eat half of it.
She ate half of her filet mignon and she brought it. She left the table and went back to the cabin to put the half
in the refrigerator.
And we had it the next day for lunch.
Oh my God, it was so good. So brought it home with us because it's a very quick drive home. Put it in between two cold waters in my bag, getting off the ship. And we had it for dinner that night. We sliced it up on garlic toast. Oh my God, it was the best.
Cheese
melt in your mouth.
Yeah.
So good. They should actually have a filet mignon garlic steak with provolone on the menu at the steakhouse because that was the bomb.
But I must say, the little appetizer they give you as like a complimentary, I think that's a joke. it's a little. They give you a little tiny thing and say, "Hey, this is on the house." It's like, where's my
chef?
but no, that filet mignon was great. If you're a steak lover, like, and you're going to the steakhouse for the first time, my suggestion is to do the filet mignon, because it is fabulous.
How about you, Coach? What do you think?
Well, you know what? I'll say the food, the MDR, like, I never left the MDR and was disappointed. There were nights where I thought, oh, wow, that was really good. And then there were nights where, like, because most of the time I ate quite a bit, as you all saw. You know, I was getting multiple appetizers, and often I was getting, there was, I think, 2 nights I got just a single entree, but there was many nights where I was getting 2 entrees, and I was eating pretty much both of them. It's not like I was wasting food or anything. They were getting eaten, which explains why I gained 20 pounds over the last 2 weeks. I kid you not, I gained 20 pounds. I know it's going to shock some people, but I got on the scale this morning. I'm like, oh my God, I gained 20 pounds. But you know, I'll get it off. We're at it already today. But anyway, one thing I want to say about the main dining room is I tried a variety of different things, but one thing that they've added to the menu since Emerald put his take on the menu and helped Carnival change it up, one thing that they started doing that I started to try for the first time is a featured salad on the menu pretty much every day. And I think I was about 3 or 4 days in before I tried one of these salads, and they're all good. Like, that after I had that first salad, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take the salad as an appetizer. And you can do that, by the way. There's a little trick, you know, just because it says entree, they will let you order the entree. If you tell your waiter, say, hey, I'm going to do 2 entrees, but I want to do this entree as an appetizer. Like, let's say, you know, none of the appetizers really knock your socks off, or you only want one other appetizer. You could say, hey, give me this salad, and then you know, give me this other thing as an entree. You could do that, but the salads were phenomenal. So I would suggest people look into getting a salad potentially when you go to the MDR, if some of the entrees don't look amazing to you. And then you all mentioned it earlier, I went to brunch one time, and on that one time there was nothing that just struck me like, oh, I have to get this. A lot of times I'll get the huevos rancheros, and I like that, but I'm like, I want to try something different. I've purchased the shrimp and grits that are an extra charge, like $8 or $6 or something like that. And I've always liked that. And I thought about getting that again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something different. So also on the Emerald's little menu, that's an extra charge there. It's $8, I think, extra. But they had this crab avocado sandwich that, you know, was like crab meat mostly, I think, with avocado on top, and then an egg, like a sunny side up or a egg over medium, and with the, you know, with the runny yolk or whatever. And they had this buttery biscuit that was toasted just perfectly. And I'm telling you, that was the best thing I ate on the entire cruise. I mean, I just couldn't believe how good it was. I will be ordering that every time. And even though, you know, I got up late, there was multiple days. There was at least 3 days that we could have had C-Day brunch that I know of, maybe 4. And if I would have known how good that sandwich was, I would have gotten up for all 4 of those days. Like, the next cruise I go on, I'm going to go, even if I go like late C-Day brunch, like at noon or something, I'm going to go and just buy that, you know, crab and avocado sandwich and happily pay.
You couldn't have had it on the first C-Day. You had to have it on the last one.
I know, right?
and of course, after we already ate, because after you told me about it, I wanted to try it so bad. And I don't really eat avocado, but the way you make it sound.
Yeah.
Well, the avocado was just little chunks anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm
sure. You know, I had to like pick them up and make sure, because they had kind of fallen off the sandwich anyway. But it was so good. It was so worth that $8. I did not feel any bit bad about spending that $8. That sandwich was great. So I will be ordering that again in the future. And I just hope, you know, I had breakfast with or brunch with Erin that day, and I told her, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be scared to order this on the Jubilee because I feel like you know, it's not going to be prepared exactly the same or something, and it's not going to be as good, and then I'm going to be disappointed because my expectations for this now are so high that it's like, you know, there's nowhere left to go. You can only match it. You can't top it. So yeah, that was
like the lobster roll at the seafood shack. We had it on the Horizon, and then we've had it on every ship after the Horizon, and it's just, it has not been the same.
Right.
You go back to the Horizon, it's exactly the way we left it, and then we go on to the Vista, and it was weird. It was like red. It had like, I guess, a lot of paprika in it or something.
And the bun wasn't even split.
It wasn't split
deep enough to put enough in it. So it was disappointing.
We did not like the lobster roll on the Vista. No.
Yeah.
I must say, you know what? Like, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if they don't, like, if you get a lobster roll, and I mean those lobster rolls, they're not giving those away. They're charging you a good dollar for those.
Like $20.
Yeah. Like I would, you know, that's one thing, especially if you're gonna spend when you have so many free offerings that are really good, you know. If you spend almost $20 for a lobster roll, it better be loaded with lobster, and you better be happy with it. I mean, if you get that thing and you know, there's only a little bit of lobster, and like you say, you know, the description that you just gave, I'm taking that back, and I'm like, no, you can just have this. Give me my money back.
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem when you get the drink package, because you know, you're just happy to eat something at that point.
Yeah. Now, speaking of, in the roll kind of family, I mean, it's food tucked inside. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe a bad comparison, but the tacos are free. And I got to say, I got tacos at least 3 times on this cruise, and every time it was money. Like, I know Guy's Burgers gets all the fanfare or whatever, but Blue Iguana Cantina tacos, I mean, I just love those things. Because of the toppings bar, they have so many salsas and, you know, different condiments and things, you know, the different cheeses. And I mean, there's just everything, onions, tomatoes, whatever you want to throw on the top of those things to just load your taco up. You know, it's usually fish, pork, chicken, shrimp sometimes to make your tacos. And they're great. I mean, I actually prefer the tacos over Guy's Burgers. I did have Guy's Burgers once, and I will say it was a fabulous burger the one time that I did. But the tacos and a cold beer, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one to beat. So really love that. So, yeah, the food overall, I think it sounds like we were all pretty much thumbs up. You know,
I will ditto that for because we only had the Blue Iguana Cantina, I think, once, and Greg was like, I'm gonna go down and get a taco. Do you want one? I'm like, I wasn't even hungry. I'm like, okay, maybe just give me a chicken taco, whatever. He brought that back, and I took one bite, and it was like that flavoring of the chicken. It was so plump, so juicy, and the flavor was so great. I was like, why haven't I done this earlier? Because and we didn't get a chance to go back.
And if you're hanging out on the Lido deck, you know, in one of the lounge chairs, don't get a taco. Get yourself a bowl, because it's much easier to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Because
when you're not sitting at a table,
tortilla was flat. But yeah, like getting it in a bowl, and it was so good. It was really good.
Well, and speaking of tacos and burgers, Scott from Controversial Cruising says, I want a Guy's Burger. And then Sea Lake Journey says they want a burger too. Trisha Nichols, I got the burgers twice, once with the bun, once without. Steakhouse was not as good. My filet was terrible. Oh, that sucks. Send it back.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I was gonna echo your filet choice, because I always say I'm gonna get it, but then, you know, my eyes are always bigger than my stomach. At the end of the thing, I feel stuffed, and that's why I think going in, like, I'm just gonna get the filet, so I'm not so stuffed walking out of here. And then I always get enticed by the 18-ounce ribeye or the cowboy steak, and I pass on the filet. But I have to do it next time. Aaron says she gained 10, so she got half of what I got.
Oh,
I don't feel so bad about my 3 then.
Yeah. Yoli says, don't get mad, but you saw how much Andrew ate, and he lost weight. Oh, actually, I am going to get mad about that. I gained 20 pounds, and he loses weight, and he was just eating whatever.
That's not right.
Like, here, give me what you didn't eat. Pass it over, and he loses weight. That's cheating. Carnival Cruise Addict says, love a chunky avocado. J&T Adventures is here. Says, hello, late coming in. Hot tea is back. Hi, Coach Cruz, just joining. I'll go back and listen to the beginning. Appreciate that. Trisha says, banana cream pie is the best at breakfast. I ordered that. I agree. The crab and avocado is really good. I think I was just too full, or I was in a hurry or whatever, and the banana cream pie hadn't come yet or something. And we got Seg here. Hey, Coach, sorry I'm late. And hi, everyone. Well, hello to you, Seg. And let's see. Lisa, that's right, Coach. Take it back. Yes, take it back. If it's not good quality, you pay good money for it, take it back. We had a Guy's Burger on the celebration and weren't impressed. Yeah, I mean, I talked with a few other people. Guy's Burgers in the past were like amazing. And I've started to hear the same thing about Shaq's Chicken on the new XL class. Like when they first came out, everybody's like, oh my God, Shaq's. And I have to admit, Shaq's has still been a really great quality for me. I haven't been on an XL class ship in a minute now, but when I have, the chicken sandwiches have still been money. But I have started to hear people say, the quality and how good they are have dropped. And people have said the same thing about the Guy's Burgers. Although, like I said, the one Guy's Burgers I had on this cruise, it seemed pretty darn good too. Sea Lake Journey says Blue Iguana is good for breakfast too. And yeah, I did have a breakfast burrito, and it was really good. And then the Huevos Rancheros, and when they offer that at Blue Iguana Cantina, is really good. Better than the main dining room, in my opinion, because they make it right there, right in front of you. Controversial Cruising said they took Greg because he stole all the sausages on the island, trying to bring them back to the Seaway Lounge. Aaron says, got to head back in. See you all later. If you're still there, Aaron, don't work too hard. Angie is here. She says, hey, Coach. Hope all is well. We are getting ready to get on the celebration next weekend. You know what, Angie? I saw that. I saw Nikki post that, and I'm jealous of you all. And Amy says, Shaq's was so good when I was on the Mardi Gras, but that was in 2023.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll see. Going on the Jubilee in March, so I will give you all my opinion on whether the Shaq's has dropped in quality or not. Frankie Floyd says he's not a Guy's Burgers fan. And North Shore Travelers, Eric is here. Good to see you, Eric. Thanks for joining. And I think we finally got caught up now. It took a minute, but we're all caught up. And we got 44 of you. If you haven't hit that like button yet, please do. For those of you that came late, we already gave away one T-shirt. Sherry won the T-shirt. She had number 57, I think, and she had numbers 37 through 86. So she won that. We are already lining up for a second T-shirt drawing. And Carnival Cruise Addicts has numbers 1 through 21. And any super chat you carry over. So even if we don't get to 100 next week when we do the show, your number will still be in there until we reach 100. And then you don't have to be present to win. I know like Brad H had won, and he didn't come back on the show for a couple weeks. And when he finally did, I said, hey, you want a shirt? And we got that off to him. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Anna White is here, says hello, everyone. And hello to you, Anna White, because I think you're new for me, at least. Maybe you come on with Greg and Michelle. I'm not sure. Okay. I think so. We're caught up. All right. So the next thing I wanted to go to is drinks. And we both had the Cheers package. So we definitely indulged in some drinks. So any drinks that stood out to you, or, any bars that you really enjoyed? you would
Well,
say?
I must say that when we were at the Alchemy, Mark was fabulous. I mean, he was very entertaining. We loved talking to him. He would have jokes for us. We gave him jokes. He did a great magic trick for Michelle.
Yeah.
I wish I had the whole thing on
Oh,
video,
that would have been
but
funny.
he was like, no video, no
Yeah.
video. So,
Yeah.
but he did give us one of these, which we actually got a lot of gifts on our last sailing, and
that's one of them.
we've got our
Yeah. So I was going to say that was probably one of the standout things, because we like to do old fashions at home. We use what our guy at Total Wine suggested, which is Redemption, which actually is pretty good. But so then on the Vista, we tried the
Blantons.
The Blantons, and it was really good.
And the Buffalo Trace is a good number 2.
Right. And then when we were at the Fahrenheit steakhouse and we ordered the old fashioned, they were out of Blanton's, they gave us Buffalo Trace.
Right.
And I could tell a big difference. I don't know if it was the way they made it, but it did seem like there was a big difference in the bourbon itself. So that has to be one of the standout drinks for me.
Coach, you should know.
Yeah. Well, and in relation to that question, so I've made this comment to somebody on the ship. And the thing is, Blanton's, and I've started to accumulate some Blanton's. I think I have 3 bottles now unopened. So I don't need to buy any more Blanton's for a while, because I usually only open it on a special occasion and things like that. And I always tell people, like, I wouldn't dare make an old fashioned with Blanton's if it was my own, because I feel like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm committing a crime, like I need to drink that straight and drink it neat, or just drink it with 1 ice cube or something like that. But when it's not mine, or when it's included in the Cheers package, I have no problem going and saying, hey, make me an old fashioned with Blanton's. You know, I'm like, let's go creme de la creme, and you know, do a Blanton's like old fashioned or whatever. So oh my goodness, my screen absolutely blew up. And look at this here. We've got Sherry and Jay. You are so awesome. And you know what? I guess, Sherry, you just got the second shirt, because there's no need to even do a drawing when you do 99.90. You're in a class by yourself. So we're not even going to change anything there as far as the shirt drawing goes. So I just put ×2 since you won the first shirt. So I'll just
I think that shirt needs to come with the bottle of one of your Blantons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I need to send a top when I finish mine. Actually, this Blanton's right here, you see, it's still mostly full. You know what? What we're going to do here, because, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the good stuff, because that was a $99. And I won't shoot this one, because, again, that would be like a criminal. But we will we'll just sip and savor this one.
Yeah, so, and you'll have to give Zoe a piece of filet mignon.
You know, I'll give Zoe her regular treat plus a couple of hot dog bites. Come on, Zoe.
I think when we get on board
the
next
we got hot dog bites here that she very much likes. But big high five. Hey, right here. Quit looking at the hot dogs for Sherry and Jay. What do you say? Say thank you. Say thank you. Okay. Yeah, girl. All right. And again, Sherry, I'm just going to sip on this one, because Blanton's is too good to just shoot. So very, very nice. And thank you so much for that. Really, really appreciate that. It's a great way to come back to the studio. And yeah. So Sean said, speaking of the steakhouse drinks, I finally tried the watermelon martini. Amazing. Greg and Michelle, they saw me order these things like they were hotcakes. Like I probably ordered about 6 watermelon martinis in front of you for 2 steak dinners, right? It's like, oh my God, would he ease up on the watermelon martinis? Every time the waitress walked around, it's like, can I get another watermelon martini? So yeah. And you guys tried one too, didn't you?
Yeah, it was really good.
It was really good. We enjoyed it.
I was sad that I was too full to have one myself, so we had to split one.
We were full.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, speaking of Mark, Trisha, because Trisha and Bert were on the same cruise with us. Mark made a special drink for Bert with Woodford that had caramel in it. But
yes.
Bert loved
it. Oh my God, amazing. I tried it.
Okay. I had a watermelon martini from the steakhouse, but instead of vodka, it was made with Patron. Oh, Trisha, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I did on the second night. I did the Grand Patron just like you know, because I saw Trisha and Bert at the steakhouse. Because you can do this, by the way. Some of you may not know this, but there's a steakhouse bar. You don't have to have steakhouse reservations to go to the bar on any Carnival ship. And you don't have to be even dressed up to go to the bar. You can go there and order a drink, even sit down at the bar if you want, even if you're not dressed up. Well, maybe not in a tank top or something, but you can go in there with a t-shirt or whatever. And yeah, you can order drinks from that bar, and they have most of the best liquor there. So I didn't even know about this Grand Patron. And I went in there one time and I was going to order a watermelon martini because I like them so much, even though I wasn't eating the steakhouse that night. And I saw Trisha and Bert in there, and they were sitting at the bar, and they're like, oh, here, try this with tequila. And I'm like, oh, wow, that tastes really good, really smooth. And the Grand Patron, it doesn't cost any extra if you have the Cheers package, but it's an upgrade over the regular Patron. So for those of you that are tequila fans out there, if you want to go in there and you want to do some tequila straight, or you want to mix it with a watermelon martini instead of vodka, which is what I did on that last night, it packs an extra punch and it is really good. So I'm glad that you told me about that, Trisha. And let's see here. Michelle, Trisha, those watermelon martinis were awesome. Yep. Carnival Cruise Addict says he needs to do like 7 shots. Well, I'm about a third of the way through my Blantons here.
Yeah,
Cruiser says Harmony's Pub made old fashions for me with Buffalo Trace bourbon. I became addicted to them. Yeah, Buffalo Trace. That Buffalo Trace, for those of you that don't know, I'll give you a little bourbon lesson here. So Blanton's is the single barrel of the best Buffalo Trace. What they do is they have thousands and thousands of barrels of bourbon, right? And the master distiller goes and tests each one of these barrels. The barrels that are the absolute best become Blanton's. All the rest of them are combined into and mixed up, and those are all Buffalo Trace. So if you really like Buffalo Trace and you say, wow, that's a really good bourbon, well, Blanton's is just the best of Buffalo Trace, if you want to look at it that way. For those of you who didn't know. Anna White says, I like chocolate martini. Z Show is here, says, good evening, content creators. Sherry says, you're welcome and Happy New Year. Thank you so much once again, Sherry. Oh, no. Z says he's in the ER. Oh, my God. I'm sorry about that, Z. I hope you are feeling better and get out fast.
Yeah.
They're putting me in the hospital. Yeah. Carnival Cruise Addict says, prayer for you at Z Show Cruise Fun, and absolutely whatever it is, Z, I hope that you come out quick and healthy. Okay. All right. Cruise Addict says, tell us about being detained. All right. So I guess
thing before we carry on, I just wanted to say one thing about the you mentioned the bars and the dining venues. One thing that we experienced on this last cruise is yes, you could sit at the bar at the 555 Steakhouse, which we actually went to. But another place which we've never thought about doing is in the main dining room. They've got a huge bar there, and we usually get our last drink at the table. So we decided, you know what, we're going to have our last drink at the bar in the main dining room. Nobody ever sits there. And let me tell you something, the bartender was really appreciative.
Yeah, she's so sweet.
Nobody sits there and talks to her. And I was like, am I bothering you, or do you need to keep doing what you're doing? She's like, no, I love this. Nobody sits here and talks to me. So that's just something, a little bit of a tidbit that, if anybody is in the main dining room, go down and see the bartender and sit with her.
And if you are on the Vista and in the main dining room and see a really pretty young, was she Cuban or
she's Cuban?
Cuban, black curly hair. Her name is Katie. She's lovely. Go sit, have a drink, talk to her, say hello,
and tell her that Frank sent you.
Yeah. Well, you know what, and that was a great idea, and you thought it was going to be even a better idea, and I confirmed, you know, that it couldn't come out the way you wanted, but they had mentioned that they had talked to her and they had a drink there, and then they thought maybe we could just go to the bar and have dinner there, and that's when I went up to this same young lady that they're just referring to, and I said, hey, I had my friends, and I was talking about you, of course, you know, suggesting that. And I was like, is that allowed? Can you do that? And she's like, no, but you know, you can sit here. So to that point, to piggyback off what you started there, so many people line up outside of the dining room. There's this hordes of people waiting to be seated.
Yes.
People, stop doing that. You don't have to do that anymore. You used to have to do that, but that is what the beauty of the Hub app is now. You can punch in like, hey, I want to check in to dine, and you will get a notification saying, hey, blah, 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 your table is ready. And then you can head down. Don't stand there with 100 people and wait for 20 or 30 minutes or however long you're going to wait to get a table. But if you do what they just suggested, Cruise Life TV, and rather than wait outside with all those people, go into the bar where nobody is sitting, sit down at the bar and have a drink for 20 or 30 minutes until your table is ready. Or do it, you know, at Alchemy or Red Frog Pub or Guys Pig and Anchor, depending upon what cruise ship you're on. But that is the better way to go. But yeah, stop sitting and waiting with 100 people. Every time I go down there, I'm like, why are all these people just standing here waiting? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, the elevator opens up and it's like a madhouse.
Yeah. It's like, woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Coach.
Oh no, I just want to say hi to a couple more people. Trisha says, glad you tried it, Coach. Drunken Sailor Cocktails. That's a new name for me. So welcome to the show for the first time, I think. But I'll take a Weller anytime. You know what? Drunken Sailor, I got Weller from Edmonton for a Christmas gift. And I also got it from Aaron as a Christmas gift. So I got 2 bottles of Weller that I'm very happy that I'll be able to drink, along with some Eagle Rare, another bottle of Blanton. So yeah, I scored over Christmas with drinks. So yeah, I feel you on that, Drunken Sailor, and you're a good drunken sailor because you know the good bourbons. Let's see, Danny D, Texas Cruiser, Marjorie, welcome. Glad to see you made it. And Drunken Sailor Cocktails, Will, great stuff. Just got a 12-year for Christmas, smooth and delicious. Lot 17. Good evening, Coach Cruz. Salutations from Puerto Vallarta on the Carnival Panorama. Awesome. That's a great shout out from a cruise ship. Let's put you on the screen for that. Thank you for that. And Adventures with Uncle Dave is back. Good to see you. Hey, y'all, he says. Okay, so you guys wanted to know about us being detained. Okay, so it's a long story. If you haven't seen the video already, that's one of the more popular videos I've put out recently. And Greg, I got to give Craig props because he took that picture of me with the police that makes it look like, you know, I'm going to the pokey. And I was like, oh my God, you got to send me that picture. So that's the picture on the thumbnail that you see in the open the videos. So it really wasn't that close to us going to jail or anything. They did call the cops, and I'm sure the guy that called the cops on us would have loved for us to have to go to jail, especially me, because I'm the one that was riling him up, I think, so much because I thought it was hilarious. Not everybody in my group thought it was hilarious. I was just laughing at this guy. I mean, you see me in the video. I'm just laughing at this guy the whole time because I know he's so full of BS. And I'm just thinking like any policeman with a grain of common sense is going to see this and be like, you know, like, what are you talking about, dude? You know, like they did nothing wrong. So like, I mean, that's why I had no worries, but I do realize, you know, the in some countries or whatever, if there's a shady cop or something like that. But Aruba, I mean, of all places to happen, Aruba's a pretty good place for something like this to happen, you know, because it's a pretty modernized tropical paradise, I would say. So here's what happened. For those of you that haven't watched the video yet, be one of the close to 9,000 people that have seen it now and go check it out. But we all had bought an excursion through Viator for this company that I guess doesn't exist anymore called Sail Away Adventures or something like that. Now, I show you in the video the same directions that, you know, Viator gives us to meet up with these people. It was this place called Moomba Beach that's by Palm Beach, and it's some pier called Caricatures. I don't know. It's some difficult name that starts with an H pier, right? So we go to this Moomba Beach, and we get there about 9:40 or something like that, and we go into this gift shop or something, and we say, "Hey, do you know where we meet for this?" And she looked at my paperwork, and she said, "Oh, yeah, but that's right here. But I don't know if those people are in business anymore. You know, they were here a couple months ago, but we haven't seen them in a while." And I'm like, "Oh my God," you know, like automatically I was getting like fear that like, oh, this tour might not exist. And here I'm the one who recommended it to everybody. So we're a group of 6. I'm feeling like I'm going to let the group down. And so I look at the meetup point and everything, and it says, "Hey, go to this pier." And I'm like, "Well, where's this pier?" And she says, "Oh, it's just the other side of the bar, you know, just a couple of 100 yards away, whatever." So I'm like, "All right, you guys wait here. I'm going to go to the pier and see if I can find these guys." So I go down there, and at the end of the pier, there's a guy signing people in. And, you know, they're filling out paperwork or whatever, like you do on an excursion, right? Most of you have been on an excursion and everything. So, you know, I run up to him and I said, "Hey, you know, is this the 10 a.m. snorkel excursion?" And the captain's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, sweet." I'm like, "Okay, I got 5 more in my group. They're back at the bar. I'm going to run back and get them, and then I'm going to come right away." So by the time I get back to the bar, you know, it's like 5 or 10 minutes to 10. I'm like, "Oh, hey guys, you know, let's go. You know, our boat, they got our boat ready." And you see me in the video, you know, I even record it and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, you know, our boat is this one over here, you know, blah, blah, blah." We go, we jump on the boat. They don't say peep. They don't say, "Hey, can we see your tickets? Can we see your booking?" They don't check our names off a list, anything else like that. So there was only 5 other people on the boat. So I'm thinking like, okay, it was a small group. They only had 11, and they knew like, oh, they had their full 11. So they're like, "Okay, good to go. We're go. We don't need to check anything off." That's what I'm thinking in my head, which is why they didn't do that. So we go to the first excursion or the first snorkel spot, which is a sunken warship. It's pretty cool. A lot of great fish, everything. Even saw a sea turtle and swam around there. Get back on after 20 or 30 minutes or so and go to this next snorkel spot that's just a couple minutes away, closer to the beach. You know, start snorkeling around in there. And the captain calls me over and says, "You know, who did you book this through?" And I said, "Viator." And he's like, "Well, can I see your paperwork?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And, you know, I show him and he's like, "You know, this isn't us." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "You told me this was the 10 a.m. snorkel." And he's like, "Well, it is a 10 a.m. snorkel." And it was the same. Everything was the same. The time, the meetup point, the same pier, the same beach, everything was the same. And I said, you said that was it. You didn't check our paperwork, anything." He's like, "Yeah, this isn't us." He's like, I'm going to have to charge you guys $350 an hour. And I'm like, "No, you're not." You know, I said, you know, because our thing was supposed to be a 4-hour excursion. So if you take 350 times 4, I mean, that means we're paying like $1,400 when our excursion was supposed to be $80 per person and include, you know, an open bar and a lunch. So I'm like, we could give you $80 per person, which is what we thought we were getting on. And then we'll worry about trying to get our money back from Viator or whatever after this. And the guy's like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, well, just drop us off or the pier or whatever you need to do. But yeah, you're not going to get $1,000, $1,200, or, and he's like, well, the best I can do is like, $550. And I'm like, well, no, I'm like I said, the best I can do is we'll pay you the same price that we agreed to pay for this excursion. And so they said no. And so he took us back. When we get there, his boss, or maybe it's the owner of the boat, was there waiting. And he said, hey, let's stop and talk or whatever. And I'm like, talk about what? And he's like, well, I want some money. And I'm like, well, no. I said, I explained the same thing. We offered, $80 per person, same deal that like we got, and you guys declined. And I said, in addition to that, we gave the captain, between our little group, we gave the captain and the shipmate or whatever, we gave them $140. Just for a sorry, you made the mistake. Here's some money to whatever. The people that were supposed to be on the boat, they didn't get inconvenienced other than the fact that they had to drive back and drop us off, and then they went back out. So they didn't like lose time or lose anything off their excursion. As a matter of fact, we all got along with them great. And they're like, hey, we got no problem with you all staying on the boat. It was just the captain and them that didn't, want us on. And technically, they could have allowed that, according to, because they could have had up to 12 people on the boat. So they even said out loud in front of the captain, like, we don't care if you all stay, like you could stay. And, we would have just given them money in that case, to offset what they spent, but they wouldn't allow that. So this guy, once, I basically tell him, like, look, dude, we're not giving you any money. We gave $140, we offered to pay what our cost of excursion was out of hand and worry about getting our money back. You guys declined, whatever. And he just still kept pounding. And I'm like, all right, so we just start walking, and we're like, all right, let's just get out of here. We're going to try to find a taxi. And so we walk maybe a quarter mile, third of a mile, and this guy's just staying with us. And he goes to take my picture and stuff. And he's like, no, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to call the cops. And I'm like, call them. And then when he went to take my picture, I'm like so irritated and thinking this guy is a jerk or whatever. I was like, wait a minute, you're just taking my picture? I'm like, come back. Like, let's get a group picture so you can get everybody in here. I just started messing with him because I thought it was ridiculous. And he followed us. I swear, we walked like half a mile and he kept following us. Finally, we find a taxi. And I'm like, all right, we're all like, let's jump in this taxi. And a couple people jump in the back seat of the taxi, and we're starting to get in. And this guy runs up to the taxi driver and he's like, don't you leave. I called the cops on them. They're going to get arrested or whatever. And the taxi driver's freaking out. So we're like, don't worry about it. We'll get out. So, a couple people that had jumped in the back come out. And so we start walking, hoping that this guy will finally leave us alone. Nope. He stayed with us every step of the way. And finally, I see a bus, and it's a public bus. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, there's no way this guy has the power, or, he's going to stop a public bus from continuing their route or whatever. And so I said, hey, everybody, let's get on the bus. So we all start heading over to the bus to get on it. And we're just starting to get on it. I think Yoli or somebody had even
had our feet on the steps getting in.
Yeah.
And then we
they were like,
yeah. Oh. And then that police noise or whatever. And I'm just thinking like this getaway chase, like, oh, we were so close to getting away. Like they got us right at the end. And I turned and I'm like, ah, yeah. And so the police, it was a female policewoman and a male. And they said, hey, can we talk to you for a second? And at that point, I had kind of been the person that had been, the speaker for the group, since I had booked the tour and everything and told everybody about it. So they talked to me. And it's just like I said, it was the same thing I've said already. I pull out the paperwork and I said, look, we had a 10 a.m. snorkel excursion. It met at this exact same beach at the exact same time this boat was leaving. We asked the guy, is this the 10 a.m. snorkel excursion, the captain? He said, yes. We got on the boat, no questions asked. why were we to think that that wasn't our boat? Come to realize it wasn't. And, you know, it was just an innocent mistake, miscommunication, whatever. And then all of it, you know, once we said, you know, we're not going to pay you $1,000 or $350 an hour or whatever you want, then, you know, that's when the owner or whatever tried to just milk us or con us or scam us out of whatever money, whatever term you want to use. And we just like, no. And so the police, you know, look at me and then they listen to this guy talk and they're like, what's the problem? Like, this is just a misunderstanding. You guys screwed up, you know, and you're trying to get money out of these, you know, like they were totally understanding of our whole situation, as I figured anybody with some common sense would be. And so the female policewoman, you know, kind of pulled me off the side. She said, you know, like, this guy, you know, don't worry about him. You all obviously did nothing wrong. You're free to go. And I'm like, thank you. And then they kind of talked to him and I think scolded him a little bit off to the side. And then we just walked off and, you know, had a great lunch, fresh grouper sandwiches and stuff like that with some Corona beers and everything. And just laughed about our little, you know, run in with the law. So it was a fun.
We took the pirate excursion to a whole nother level.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Dominic says, and this was one of the things, how was Mark Q? And I know we want to talk about that, and we're already past an hour, but we will definitely talk about that. Let me just go back, and I know I was rambling there, but that's a long story. Amy says, glad you got your money back. Well, we didn't get our money back.
Yoli got her money back.
Oh, Yoli did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got our money. It's always showing credit on our credit. Okay. Well, yeah, Yoli, you got to tell me who you talked to, whatever, because I haven't even had time to like.
I haven't either.
So, yeah, Yoli, you're going to have to give us the details on that so we can get our money back too. All right. Love the panorama, cocktails. Just going through all the comments here, trying to go quickly. North Shore Travelers, sorry for my visit short. Late hockey practice. Now to put the kids to bed. All right. Eric, if you're still there, thanks for joining. And yeah, Yoli, I'm glad you got your money back because that's a good sign we'll get our money back. And Viator, like I said, I'd always thought about Viator as a reputable company. But the thing that concerns me about Viator is they told us that particular company had been out of business for like 2 months. And then another thing that bothered me about that company is after we went, like the next day or something, I checked my email and it said, how did you enjoy your sail or your snorkel on the Lady Black, you know, whatever. And I'm just like, wow, whoever the owner of this scam company is such a jerk, you know, like to know they're out of business and then just to allow Viator, or if it's them themselves that are sending out this email, tell us what you thought about your great snorkeling night day on the Lady Black or something like that. And I'm just like, wow, you know, like that just got me riled up right there. You know, so you got that same email, I take it.
Yeah. I was getting text messages from them, emails from them. You know, hey, don't reminder that, you know, I got a text reminder
tomorrow's
that
your excursion.
Tomorrow's your excursion. The day before that was, hey, we're charging you for the excursion. And then after it was like, hey, how did you enjoy your excursion? And so, I mean, obviously they didn't know that they're out of business. I mean, I do believe that if they had known, but like, how could this have been something that they didn't know about? That's kind of concerning, but
yeah,
I don't know how big they are.
And how is it if they were out 2 months ago that they're still booking it, because we booked ours less than a month ago?
Right. Wouldn't have a lot of other people said, hey, look, this isn't happening. I don't know. But, you know,
I think the guy that called the cops on us is the guy who runs the website.
I don't think so. But anyway, it was interesting. But
and that thing, you know, to kind of wrap up before we get into Mark Q, that whole deal. So the people that had booked that boat was actually a private booking. So the guy had paid, I don't know whether he paid $750, $1,000. I mean, they were going out supposedly for 3 hours, which if it's that $350 an hour thing, that's going to be $1,050, which is what the original price that they tried to get me for when he first mentioned it to me, or us, our group. And right. I told them to go pound sand, basically. So they already got that money from them. And that group could take as many as 12 people. So if they wanted to, if they insisted on it, and maybe that's why, the captain in the first place allowed us, is maybe he thought that we were with them. And that was part of the deal. And that would have been perfectly fine. So the guy that was chasing us down the street already was going to get that money. So he already got all the money that he was supposed to get anyway. We just happened to get on the boat accidentally because of the mistake his captain made in letting us get on the boat. And so he just saw it as an opportunity to like, hey, these guys got on my boat, and I want to get some money out of them, even though he had already gotten all the money that he was supposed to get anyway out of that other group. So, any money he got out of us would have just been extra money. Was he going to take that money all along?
It's like, okay, so where are the damages? What are your losses? What are you out by us having us on board? Zero.
Right. We didn't even drink either waters or rum.
I think,
well, maybe you had a little at the very end.
You had some rum.
At the very end.
Oh, yeah.
That's a rum.
But you know what? I did have a casualty. So that cup, that nice blue cup that I had, that I poured that rum punch in, that Aaron had given to me, actually, that said Coach Cruz on it and everything else. I left the damn thing there on the ship. So they did get something out of me. I'm hoping those 5 people that were on the boat, I'm hoping that they got it and somehow will reach out. Like, I hope the 5% chance that they got that cup, and either they kept it as a souvenir or they'll say, come across the video or something, because it does have this same sticker on it, and I'm hoping they see, oh, YouTube, oh, let's look that up and just see, and then find the whole story and be like, hey, what a coincidence. But so that was a casualty of that day. But the story that came from it is one we will never forget, and we'll laugh about for years to come. So it's all good. So Mark Q, I will let you all go first. You got them in the background of your screen there. So, what are your thoughts on Mark Q, the cruise director, and what people might think about him?
Well, actually, I think Mark Q is amazing. I mean, seriously, once we got to sit down and talk to him and converse and chat and hear the stories, I mean, it's just incredible. So Coach Cruz, you were able to do an interview.
And I will have to say, though, initially I was not so sure. Like, I think when we first got on board, like, wasn't sure I saw him. Like, we didn't get up to the sailing away party like I wanted to. So I didn't get to see how that happened. I saw his some encounters with some of the guests. So I didn't think he was totally present with them. So it was like, what's going on there? And then the group for St. Jude was like
that's a whole other issue.
That was like non-existent. So I was like, I thought he was kind of a little bit more absent than I like to see, but maybe I was just doing other things than I usually do. And so I was a little bit like, I don't know, a little bit skeptical about like how he really is as a cruise director. But then we got a chance to actually sit down with him one-on-one, and wow. Yeah. He wowed me. He really wowed me.
And so you haven't seen Coach's video that he posted yet. So he has the sail away party. He has the welcome party. And the way he controls the crowd, and I think, Coach, you even said it yourself, he has these dance moves. He gets you involved, and it's just a great experience, it appears to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say about Mark Q, and again, I only see him as a guest myself and as a content creator and going up and speaking to him. And so, from my individual perspective, he's amazing from that standpoint. But I don't stand and kind of watch him as he's interacting. But I did just stumble upon him multiple times throughout the cruise, and I mentioned this to him. When he was talking to people, and then he'd see me wake up and walk up and be like, "Oh, hey, coach," and just coincidentally, I ran into him, across the ship, when he didn't have an event or anything like that. But one of the things I really think that he does that's special is, and Greg, you just pointed out, like at the sail away party, he did it. The rock and glow party, he did it. And that is, he'll actually go out into the crowd, multiple times to interact with, cruisers individually and then get them amped up or pumped up or whatever. And he did that at the sail away party. There's actually video of me, showing him going off and doing that before you see yourselves talking to him. And I have you filmed on there as well, obviously. And then at the rock and glow party, he took that to another level, because the rock and glow, the weird thing about that is it said it was supposed to start at 10:15 p.m. And me and PJ and Aaron, I think, or no, it was Rod. It was Rod, myself, PJ. I think, Aaron was sick that night or something like that. But it was us three. We went up there. And we went up there and it was almost 10:15, and we look out on the main floor there and there was like 20 people. And we're like, what the heck? I'm like, this is going to be dead. This is going to be like the worst rock and glow ever. And shortly after like 10:20, there started to be more and more people. And then Mark Hughes shows up, and then all of a sudden it's just like, it's packed. And he just got everybody involved. Like I said, he did different dance, techniques, moves, whatever, jumping off into the set. So he got everybody involved, and it was really, I guess, different from a lot of cruise directors. A lot of cruise directors will just stand up there on that little bench that they stand on, and they'll say, okay, this next song. And, it's not that they do a bad job or anything. They just don't have that little extra that Mark Q, I think, does.
He reminded me of Donkey. Donkey gets out into the crowd when he was the cruise director. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I did appreciate that. And then obviously both of us interviewed him, and he's very personable. And he said, one of the questions that I asked him is, what would you observe, or for aspiring cruise directors, what quality in you would you think be good for another cruise director? And basically, to sum up what he said, it's like, just be yourself. He's like, when you talk to me now, I'm the same person I am on stage and everything else like that. And I felt that was very true. Like, we talked to him off air for
longer than we interviewed him.
Yeah. Like when that interview was over, you would think like, okay, I'm done with these content creators. Let me just get out of here.
Right.
He sat there and talked with, the three of us for another 30 minutes? Like, to the point where I almost felt bad.
Yeah, and in my mind, I'm thinking like,
don't you have
to go somewhere? Like, I don't want to keep you too long. And and then after the interview was over, he was sitting on that lounge. He was kind of like just leaning back and like, oh, what else do you want to talk about now?
There was a couple times that I'd mentioned to you all about it, where I felt like I tried to give him an opening, to kind of like, okay, I got to get out of here, and then he just kept talking. So we're like, great, we love, I mean, it was great to get some, like, I wouldn't say inside information, but just below deck kind of talk, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we had obviously questions that we had to like clear with corporate or whatever, but I just felt like when I was talking to him, it was just like talking to a friend and like getting to know somebody, and just like really having this really open, easy conversation.
Yeah, like how Cookie calls you cuz, he felt like he was my cousin.
I was really impressed. I was definitely smitten by the end of that encounter with him. I was like, okay, this is the real guy. what I've been seeing, just because I haven't been seeing them, and so this is the Mark Q that when you're around them, you get to see.
And the other thing that I noticed about, and this was one of the talking points I had, was about the passengers and the energy level. For a New Year's Eve cruise, I felt like the energy level wasn't crazy. Like I felt like you needed a Mark Q, or you needed a good cruise director, DJ, whatever, to like bring that up. Like, and that was something I know Lee Mason and Mamacita, who just happened to be on this cruise, because she's becoming the new entertainment director on the ship this week, as a matter of fact. But they had told me before, it's like, we know what the cruise is going to be like on the very first day on the sail away party. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, well, like if the party is like this, and they kind of explain some type of things that go on in the party, if it's wild, if it's this, whatever, we just know it's going to be, this type of thing. And, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just going to be, this is what's going to happen.
One of those cruises.
Yeah. And then if it's more like this, then, it's going to be more laid back, whatever. Well, whatever the different stages of how, a party is going to be, I felt like as passengers as a whole, like this was a very laid back, cruise week. And it was almost like, the cruise director and the fun squad and anybody else involved had to like, all right, come on, people, let's, this is your party, it's your vacation. Let's get this going, And I mean, and on some cruises, it's like, you don't have to pull that out of people. There's like, yeah, let's go, whatever. But I feel like you had to do that on this cruise. Like, I feel like the energy level just didn't kind of, didn't go along with New Year's Eve. And it's kind of like, hey, everybody, this is a New Year's Eve cruise. This is party cruise, let's party. And they kind of had to pull that out of people, I felt. Like, the deck parties, like I said, Rock and Glow, you went up there at 10:15 to start, and there's only like 40 people up there. And, I don't know.
So, I used to be a DJ. I DJ'd in New York, and I worked a lot of New Year's Eve parties. And one thing I must say, doing the New Year's Eve parties is, which is really bizarre, I worked in these clubs, and I worked in this one club for many years. And on New Year's Eve is the only time that the regulars don't come out, and you get the people who don't normally go out come out. And it's the weirdest crowd, because it's not the regulars, and it's these people you've never seen before in your life in the club, and they're just there because they wanted to go to do something for New Year's Eve. They're not the real party people who come out week after week after week. It might be the same thing on the cruise ship.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They did say that there was a lot of kids, like under 18,
1,000.
right? 1,000. So
yeah.
I think that's part of it. There was a lot of teenagers I saw. Greg said he saw a lot of young children. I didn't necessarily see that, but that might have been like maybe those teenagers, were taking up a lot of that, whatever. But I just remember being the one time we were in the piano bar, and the piano bar guy, the piano player wasn't fabulous, but he wasn't like horrible. He
wasn't like the guy on the Celebration.
Well, nobody's like him.
He was horrible.
That guy. Well, no, he wasn't horrible, but he wasn't fabulous. But dead. Like everybody in the crowd, I'm like looking around, like nobody's even like moving their mouth. Nobody's singing. Like even doing that.
They're just there taking up air.
I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? I don't know. So yeah, I see that. Like they didn't have the kind of energy. Thank God we were there, right?
Well, I don't know. Brad got up and left too.
Yeah. No, I mean like on the ship. I'm talking like at least we had. You had a pretty good number of your people on the bar crawl on day 2, right?
Yeah, no, we had a good turnout for the bar crawl. That was a lot of fun. But like. I will say this in relation to the bar crawl. The bar crawl was fun, and it always is, and everybody had a good time and all that. But I have had wilder bar crawls. I'm not gonna lie and say like, oh yeah, that was like the wildest bar crawl. It wasn't. You know, that wouldn't rank like in the top 5 or anything. It was good. It was solid, but you know, it wasn't like, you know, there weren't like a bunch of people that were just having like wild, crazy fun or anything at the bar crawl, which happens sometimes. You know, but it was good. It was good, and you know, everybody had a good time. That's what's important. So there was a couple things. Oh, Playlist Productions. I gotta say, yeah. Went to the welcome aboard party, and I shouldn't even have brought it up, honestly. I mean, we were already over time, but is this one I just looked down and saw the Playlist Production. I was on the cruise, you know, I know Aaron, that was her first time on the Vista, for example. And I don't know how many times you guys have been on there, but you know, I mean, different ships have different shows. So I've always been a fan of the Playlist Productions. I mean, I could watch Celestial Strings like every cruise I go on. They don't have Celestial Strings on this show, so that'd be one reason right there. But the Welcome Aboard show, the lead singer for the male part started singing, and honest to God, it was so not good that I thought I was being punked. Like, he started singing, and it was like it was me singing up there or something, you know, trying to do my best singing, knowing that I wasn't a good singer. It was bad. I turned around and I looked at the rest of our group like, you know, like, is this real? Is are they, you know, is this somebody like from the fun squad just screwing around? Like, you know, and it was really a dude, you know, like, I mean, that was really the guy. And I mean, the ladies, they were definitely better, passable, I guess you could say. And the second male singer was actually much better than the lead singer guy. But it was to the point where it's just like, you know, I know in Aaron's case, she's like, yeah, I don't want to go see any of these shows, you know, because at the welcome aboard, they had heard the singing, and the singing was so not good. I don't it's hard for me to say bad, but it was so not good that it's just like, yeah, you know, let's do something else, you know. So yeah. But the playlist cast changes every 6 months or so. And I feel bad saying that because honestly, you know, I know they put a lot of work in, and you know, I know that guy's probably, and I sincerely hope that was just a really bad day. I did talk to a couple of people that had gone to some of the shows, and they're like, they kind of said the same thing even after the welcome aboard. And it's just like, yeah, no. So it's unfortunate, but if you're going anytime soon, I don't think you're going to be dazzled by the voices on the playlist cast, but I hope I'm wrong. And
what's the one that we saw? Which one did we see?
What was it? The rock one? I think it was the rock one, because then it was the girl that had the
Joan Jett, and
it was the rock one. Yeah, because remember they were having the different.
Yeah, and that guy came out and
I will say the ladies in the cast are pretty easy on the eyes. There's that, you know. Yeah, so I mean, and their voices, like I said, they're the stronger. The females' voices are definitely the stronger than the males in terms of sound quality and everything. So for what that's worth, and you know, the dancing and the performance and the theatrics or whatever, I'm sure are all great, you know, the same as they normally would be. It's just, you know, the voices. So we already went almost 50% over, and we didn't get through everything. Seg says, great show, Coach. Nice to see Cruise Live TV. Good night. So a couple of you are checking out. So I think we should check out too, seeing as we're about a half hour. But is there any last tidbits you want to throw out there, Greg or Michelle?
Not really. I mean, the only thing that I have to say is we noticed this on the last cruise that we were on, which was October, on the celebration. We noticed it on this cruise. And to me, it seems like that Groove for St. Jude is like fizzling away. There was no Groove for St. Jude on this cruise.
I mean, they sold the T-shirts and stuff like that, but they didn't get the people up to dance. They didn't really do any of that.
No, they brought the table out. They sold the T-shirts. They packed the table away, and then that was the extent of it. So
I'm hoping something happened that they didn't do their normal thing, because I had felt bad. I don't know if I was doing a ship tour or what I was doing, but for some reason I couldn't get up there right when it was going on. But I saw you two right after, and you had told me that that's what had happened, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. Like, I felt bad that I hadn't got up to get a T-shirt, and because I wanted to get, I haven't gotten one of those new blue ones yet. I tried once, they didn't have one in my size, and then this time I'm like, oh, I got to get my blue shirt, and it was already over with. But yeah, I'm hoping, and I'm guessing that was just a scheduling thing, because New Year's Eve, because they had to move the shows around and everything else like that. Because normally Groove for St. Jude would be on the very last day, I think, and it was on the second last day.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that it would just had to do something to do with the weird scheduling of the New Year's Eve cruise and stuff, because that would be unfortunate. But thank you both. I think we covered the biggest stuff, like the food. We started off with that. So, and I do feel like we covered a lot of the Vista. So for those of you that were tuning in for the Vista, I hope you got what you want. If you didn't, please put a question in the comments, and I will do my best to answer it. And Greg and Michelle might check as well, and throw their answers in too if there's something you wanted to hear about that we didn't answer. There was somebody, Kimberly had asked, I don't know, about the weather or something. I had put it up on the screen because I meant to address it. But I'm sorry. So Kimberly, that you had a question, message me separately and I will answer it, because I forgot what the question was and whatever. But all right, guys. Well, thank you everybody that's still hanging on. There's still 27 of you. You could hit that like button on the way out. That'd be awesome. But we will see you all next Tuesday. Take care, everybody. Happy cruising.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Peace.